Let's go back. Oh, you tell me, 30, 40 years ago, you wanted to prove this thing about B vitamins, and you went to a school, if I remember right, in Wales. Everybody said you were mad, and you went, no, I'm not. This is right. And you even had the courage or the audacity, or let's just say the balls, to bring the BBC along to film it. Tell everybody about that.
Yeah, well, I just started. I mean, basically, I had an aha moment in the early 1980s. And it came about through studying the work of a genius professor, Linus Pauling, 2 Nobel Prizes, 48 PhDs, and a man called Dr. Ebenhofer, genius psychiatrist, head of psychiatric research for part of Canada. And I suddenly had this outrageous idea that maybe all these diseases like diabetes and heart disease and dementia and so on were being driven by suboptimum nutrition. So I decided to start, I'm early 20s, the Institute for Optimum Nutrition, and Linus Pauling was my patron, along with another lovely man who got lead out of petrol, Professor Derek Bryce-Smith.
Oh, wow.
And we started to offer training to be a nutritional therapist. This is how that profession came into existence.
And ION, still going today.
ION,
I think that's the
Institute
one
for
I've just become a patron, I think.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're doing fantastic work, and it's the first degree accredited training in nutritional therapy. By the way, the logic there, you may or may not know, a lovely Dr. Stephen Davies, who started nutritional medicine and the Journal of Nutritional Medicine and all the rest of it. And he said, this is science, right? Yeah. So all doctors should be doing this. And I said, yeah, the trouble is it takes years to study. And I agree with you, they should be, because it is evidence-based. But I don't think it's going to happen like that. So let's create a new profession of nutritional therapists who can work with doctors.
Yes.
So doctors have to know about and refer them on. So that was the purpose. And we've now got 10,000 nutritional therapists.
Well done.
Now, one of the first students was a lovely man, Gwilym Roberts, from Wales, who was the headmaster of a secondary school. And all my students...
So back to the experiment now.
Back to the experiment.
Okay.
And all the students had to do a project.
Yeah.
And we were chatting. We thought, maybe if we gave an optimal amount of vitamins and minerals, we didn't really know about the essential fats in those days, we could have an effect on IQ. So we ran a little pilot trial, and sure enough, we got a change. So we then thought, we need to do this properly, randomized placebo-controlled trial, large enough, long enough, etc. And maybe I should bow out, and we should get a professor who thought we were nuts. So we found a highly respected professor of psychology, David Benton, lovely fellow from Swansea University. He thought we were crazy. There's absolutely no way giving a multivitamin pill, this isn't a regular multi, it was a high-dose multi, versus placebo is going to do anything. And I challenged the BBC. I said, film us, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and if it does, it does. And we invited the Lancet Medical Journal to publish the results. And when they broke the code at 7 months, they'd had a 10-point increase in the IQ on the vitamins and a 3-point on the placebo, which was a 7-point difference. A 5-point difference gets half of all children classified special educational needs back to normal. And I'll tell you something interesting here was we actually, BBC Horizon did their program 2 days before it came out in the Lancet. And we had 2 days of absolute flack from dietitians, doctors, etc., saying nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Just kept quiet. Came out in the Lancet. It's never been criticized. We had Medical Research Council statistician. It was an immaculate trial, never been criticized. Hit the front page of every newspaper, every TV channel, and that was in 1987. And that was the beginning of the waking up to the idea that what you put in your mind affects your in your mouth affects your mind.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? 2 things to pick up on there. First of all, people do question the Lancet. I mean, it is the Bible, and people do question the Lancet. Certainly their Eat Well report that came out a couple of years ago, which I questioned and have written about and have been very critical about. So for you to put something out in the Lancet, even though it's like the Bible of what's happening in in nutrition, medicine, and health, it's not infallible. So the fact that nobody questioned it, I mean, that's fantastic. You're in the most reputable paper, magazine, stroke, nutritional, whatever, and And then the BBC put it out 2 days before. And then, if I remember right, it's vitamins sold out in virtually every single shop across the UK for about a week or so till they could replenish. But then what drives me nuts is, like everything in life, then it gets forgotten.
That's the way it goes.
You knew that back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Isn't that frustrating?
It really is. And, you know, the reason I'm now putting the total focus on Alzheimer's is because you can't reverse holes in your brain.
Yeah.
I've told you a story about somebody getting significantly better, but still the holes are there.
Yeah.
You know, it's too late. So there isn't another option. And in case you don't know, the Office of National Statistics in 2022 said it is now the number one killer. So it's the number one killer. It's by far the biggest health care cost.
Yeah.
Brain diseases, including Alzheimer's, cost more than all of cancer and heart disease combined.
And it's bloody horrible, mate. My mum's got it. My mum can't speak. Bless her.
And
she can't speak. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's you don't want to have this.
And it's frightening. And I don't think I've ever fessed to you before.
Yeah.
I've got the APO4 gene. I've got a mother who has got Alzheimer's, and you know, we've talked a lot about nutrition. That's why I try and stay in nutritional ketosis as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, you will be fine with the ApoE4, and omega-3 is very important. And I'll tell you something about the ApoE4 gene as well. But you really don't want it, and it's preventable. And it's not reversible, but it's preventable. There never will be a drug because it's actually a multi-system thing.
Well, if we are right that it is predominantly a metabolic condition, like every metabolic condition in my mind, you can never treat it. You can probably slow the symptoms and you can make it a bit easier, but there's very few drugs that can make you feel better on a lifestyle created disease.
Yeah, as Rob says, you know, it's foodable but not druggable.
Yeah.
In a sense, I'll challenge the metabolic thing in a small way.
Okay.
Just to sort of broaden the horizon there. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story, and some people will know who I'm talking about. Others will have no idea. Dr. Fritjof Capra, back in the 70s, wrote a seminal book called The Tao of Physics, and was one of the first systems-based thinkers. And I was 15 at the time, and we played tennis together. And he said to me, Patrick, what is the difference between you, an animate object, and an inanimate object? And he said, you've both got parts. The parts relate, like chain to the wheel, etc. But the difference in an animate object is there's this life flowing through it. So what we soon realized is there's 30 known risk factors for Alzheimer's, from hearing loss to cataracts to exercise to smoking to pollution to head injury to B vitamins to whatever. And
lack of B vitamins.
Lack of B vitamins, risk factors, yes, absolutely. And also drugs, not lack of, but things like omeprazole, the antacid drugs, the metformin also. Mm-hmm. That if you understand there is the structure of the brain cell, the neuron, and already we know the omega-3s are a vital part of that structure, but need the B vitamins to be fixed into place, so to speak. There is the function. And that's where we could say metabolic, because the function, a bit like an engine, you need the right fuel, be it glucose or ketones. You need to mop up the exhaust fumes, which is antioxidants. You need things like fiber to slow release the fuel. So we say that area is metabolic. But then you've got to use the neural network. That's the activity.
Yep.
And that's where if you're part blind with cataracts, or you can't hear, or you spend time watching shit TV that doesn't make you think, and you have no social interaction with people who can challenge your ideas, so you have to keep thinking fast. You need all three: structure, function, utilization. So I'd say the metabolic bit is largely in function.
Yep.
But there's a few other bits too.
Yeah.
Which is the exercise. Of course, you'd say exercise.
Yeah.
And of course, exercise is so vital. And in fact, muscle mass is one of the best predictors of brain mass.
Really?
Yeah. And my lovely professor, Associate Professor Tommy Wood at University of Washington, he's got great big muscles. I'm thinking I need to get a little bit on this because I don't really do that. But the point is, as soon as you're stimulating blood flow through exercise, it's blood flow to the brain. Mm-hmm. So you need the flow of blood to bring the nutrients into the brain and so on. So there are a lot of ways, exercise we know stabilizes your blood sugar, and muscle cells can absorb glucose.
Yeah.
So a lot of people go, I'm not eating any different to how I was eating when I was 30, but the weight just piles on.
Yeah.
And the answer is, you've lost all your muscle cells.
Yeah.
If you've got no muscle cells, there's very little of you that actually needs glucose. So the glucose, as you know, and say so beautifully in your book, the insulin takes the glucose, if it's not needed, into storage as fat.
Yeah.
So the name of the game is build muscle, stop eating sugar and refined carbohydrates, never eat food that doesn't have fiber in it.
Yeah.
And I know you've been adding fiber. Glucomannan fiber is the most exquisite soluble fiber.
Yep.
And also have carbs with protein. That really helps to slow release them. And then you feel fantastic.